The transport shuttle descended through thick clouds of volcanic ash, and Maya Chen pressed her face against the small window. Below, the moon of Paraxis glowed orange and red, its surface covered with rivers of slow-moving lava. Somewhere down there, hidden among the volcanic peaks, was her new assignment, the Dragon Veterans' Sanctuary. Maya checked her uniform one more time. The blue medical badge on her chest seemed too bright, too new. She was 28 years old, fresh from the Galactic Medical Academy, and she was about to become the first human ever stationed at the most prestigious military facility in known space. "Nervous?" asked the pilot, a friendly Quelian with 4 arms. "A little," Maya admitted. "Dragons have been taking care of themselves for thousands of years. I'm not sure they'll want my help." The pilot laughed. "Dragons don't want anyone's help. That's their problem." The shuttle landed on a platform carved from black volcanic rock. As the doors opened, a wave of heat hit Maya's face. She stepped out, carrying her single bag of belongings, and looked up. The sanctuary was massive. Huge stone buildings rose from the mountainside, with archways large enough for dragons to fly through. Smoke drifted from vents in the walls. Everything was built on a scale that made Maya feel very, very small. "Nurse Chen?" Maya turned to see a dragon approaching. He was smaller than she expected, only about 20 feet long, with deep green scales and intelligent golden eyes. Compared to the elder dragons she'd seen in history videos, he looked young. "I'm Velris," the dragon said, lowering his head to her level. "I manage the sanctuary operations." "Welcome to Paraxis." His tone was polite but not warm. Maya could tell he wasn't happy about her presence. "Thank you for having me," Maya said. "I'm excited to work with the veterans." Velris snorted, and small wisps of smoke came from his nostrils. "The veterans don't need work done on them, Nurse Chen. The Galactic Medical Coalition insisted we accept a human medical officer. We had no choice. But these are draconian warriors. They fought battles before your species even discovered fire. Please remember that." Maya felt her cheeks grow warm, but she kept her voice steady. "I understand. I'm here to help, not to interfere." "Good." Velris turned and began walking toward the main building. "Follow me. I'll show you the medical facility and introduce you to some of the residents." As they walked through the sanctuary, Maya saw dragons everywhere. Some lay on heated stone platforms, their scales gleaming in the light. Others sat in groups, talking in their deep, rumbling voices. A few flew overhead, their wings casting huge shadows. They were all old. Maya could see it in the way they moved. Slower, more careful. Many had scars across their scales, evidence of ancient battles. Some were missing claws or had torn wings that had healed crooked. "We have 342 veterans currently in residence," Velris explained. "Most are between 600 and 900 years old. They served in the Void Wars, the Stellar Conflicts, and the Border Campaigns. Every dragon here is a hero." "They're amazing," Maya said softly. Velris glanced at her, and his expression softened slightly. "Yes, they are." The medical facility was a large cave system that had been converted into a hospital. The equipment was all draconian, huge machines designed for massive bodies. Maya's human-sized medical scanner looked like a toy in comparison. "Your living quarters are attached to the medical bay," Velris said. "The veterans know you're here. They've been informed that they must complete health screenings with you. Don't expect enthusiasm." "I understand," Maya said. "Your first patient is waiting in examination room 3. His name is Karvosh. He's—" Velris paused. "He's important. He led the defense of the Outer Rim for 2 centuries. Be respectful." Maya nodded and made her way to examination room 3. The door was enormous. She pressed the entry panel and stepped inside. The dragon who waited for her was huge, at least 40 feet long, with dark red scales that looked like polished rubies. His eyes were like liquid gold, ancient and knowing. Scars covered his body in patterns that told stories of countless battles. He lay on a heated examination platform, watching her with an expression that seemed both amused and annoyed. "So," Karvosh said, his voice deep enough to vibrate in Maya's chest, "you're the human they sent." "Nurse Maya Chen," she said, trying to keep her voice from shaking. "It's an honor to meet you, sir." "An honor." Karvosh chuckled, and small flames flickered between his teeth. "Child, I've been doctoring myself since before your grandparents were born. This is unnecessary." "I'm sure you have, sir," Maya said politely. "But the Galactic Medical Coalition requires regular health screenings for all military veterans. I just need to do a basic examination. It won't take long." Karvosh sighed, a sound like wind through a canyon. "Fine, let's get this over with." Maya approached with her medical scanner. Up close, Karvosh was even more impressive. His scales were thick as armor plates. She could feel the heat radiating from his body. Dragons maintained internal temperatures that would cook most species alive. She began the standard examination, checking his vital signs, his scale integrity, his wing membranes. Everything seemed normal for a dragon of his age. Karvosh endured the process with obvious impatience. "Are we finished?" he asked after 20 minutes. "Almost," Maya said. "Just one more thing. Could you turn slightly?" "I need to check your dorsal scales." Karvosh shifted, and Maya moved around to examine his back. That's when she saw it, a patch of scales near his left shoulder blade that were slightly darker than the rest. The discoloration formed an irregular circle about 6 inches across. "What's this?" Maya asked, leaning closer. "What's what?" "This spot. The darker scales here." "Oh, that." Karvosh twisted his neck to look. "It's nothing. Been there a few months? Just an old dragon getting older?" Maya frowned. Something about the pattern wasn't right. The edges were too defined, and there was a strange texture to the affected scales. "Has it been growing?" she asked. "Maybe a little. It doesn't hurt. Just looks different." Karvosh's voice carried a dismissive tone. "I've survived wounds that would kill 100 warriors. A small spot on my scales is nothing to worry about." But Maya's trained eyes saw something others might miss. She'd spent years studying cross-species dermatology. The pattern reminded her of something she'd read about in old medical texts, something that shouldn't exist anymore. "Sir," Maya said carefully, "I'd like to run some additional tests on this area, just to be safe." Karvosh turned to look at her fully. His golden eyes narrowed. "Young human, I've had thousands of battle scars. This is nothing." "It might be nothing," Maya agreed. "But it might be something. Please, let me check." For a long moment, Karvosh stared at her. Then, surprisingly, he nodded. "Very well, if it makes you happy, but you're wasting your time." Maya prepared her equipment, her heart beating faster. She hoped she was wrong. But something in her gut told her that this small spot was anything but nothing. Maya ran her medical scanner slowly over the darkened patch on Karvosh's scales. The device hummed softly, collecting data. She watched the readouts on her tablet, her frown deepening with each passing second. "Well?" Karvosh asked, his tone impatient. "Satisfied that it's nothing?" "Actually," Maya's voice trailed off. The scanner results made no sense. According to draconian medical standards, this should just be simple scale discoloration, normal aging. But Maya's human medical equipment, designed to detect cellular-level changes across multiple species, was showing something completely different. "Actually what?" Karvosh turned his massive head to look at her. "Can you feel anything in this area? Any itching? Tingling? Temperature changes? No, nothing. It's just a spot. Karvosh sounded annoyed now. I told you it was nothing to worry about. Maya bit her lip. Sir, I need to take a small-scale sample. This will only pinch for a moment. A scale sample? Karvosh's eyes widened. For a spot? Please, I think this might be more serious than it looks. Karvosh grumbled but held still. Maya carefully extracted a tiny piece from the edge of the discolored area. The scale came away easily. Too easily. Healthy dragon scales were incredibly tough. These felt brittle, weakened. I'll need a few hours to analyze this properly, Maya said. Can you come back tomorrow? Fine. Karvosh stood, his enormous body unfolding. But you're worrying over nothing, young human. I've survived worse things than a dark spot. After Karvosh left, Maya rushed to her laboratory. She placed the scale sample under her microscope and began running tests. What she saw made her stomach drop. The scale wasn't just discolored, it was being eaten away from the inside. Tiny organisms, so small she could barely see them even under magnification, were burrowing through the scale structure. They looked like nothing in the current medical databases. Maya spent the next 6 hours searching through archives, comparing images, running chemical analyses. Finally, deep in the historical medical records, she found it. Her hands shook as she read the old report. Dormant battlefield parasite. Species, Paraxian scale borer. Status, extinct for 400 years. Last recorded case, Void War's battlefield on planet Terminus 9. The parasites had lived in the volcanic soil of war zones. They infected wounded dragons, lying dormant in scar tissue for decades or even centuries. The dragon's immune system kept them controlled, but never fully eliminated them. As dragons aged and their immune systems weakened, the parasites could wake up and begin spreading. But there was something worse. Maya kept reading, and her heart pounded harder. Transmission. Spreads through physical contact and shared heated environments. Infection rate among dragon populations, extremely high in close quarters. The communal heat baths. The sanctuary had huge pools of heated water where the veterans soaked together every day to ease their old wounds and aching joints. If Karvosh was infected, and if he'd been using those baths. Maya grabbed her tablet and ran from her lab. She nearly collided with Velrus in the hallway. Nurse Chen, what's wrong? I need access to the veterans' medical records, all of them, right now. Velrus stepped back, surprised by her urgency. That requires authorization. What's this about? Please, Maya's voice was urgent. Karvosh has a parasitic infection. It's contagious. I need to check if others have similar symptoms. Parasitic? Velrus's scales seemed to pale slightly. That's impossible. Our medical staff would have detected... Your equipment looks for different things than mine does, Maya interrupted. Please, Velrus, just let me check. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize. But if I'm right... She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Velrus stared at her for a long moment, then nodded. Follow me. In the medical records room, Maya pulled up file after file. She searched for any mention of scale discoloration, dark spots, or unusual marks. What she found made her feel sick. Veteran after veteran had reported small spots. Most had been dismissed as battle scars or normal aging. Some had been noted months ago and forgotten. The draconian medical staff, used to seeing these proud warriors covered in scars, had simply assumed these were nothing unusual. 73 cases, Maya whispered, staring at her tablet. 73 veterans have reported spots in the last 6 months. That can't be right. Velrus looked over her shoulder at the data. Why didn't anyone see the pattern? Because you see these symptoms every day, Maya said quietly. To you they're normal, but to me coming in with fresh eyes. She turned to face him. Velrus, this is an epidemic. It's been spreading slowly through the sanctuary, and no one noticed. Velrus sat down heavily, his tail curling around his feet. "What do we do?" "I need to examine every veteran who reported a spot. I need to confirm they're infected and determine how advanced each case is." Maya was already making notes on her tablet. "Then I need to develop a treatment protocol. The old medical texts mention treatments, but they're 400 years old. They might not work on modern cases." "I'll help," Velrus said immediately. "But Maya, the Galactic Medical Coalition, we need to report this." Maya nodded. "We will. But first, let me confirm my findings. I don't want to cause panic if I'm wrong." "You're not wrong." Velrus's voice was sad. "I can see it in your eyes. You're certain." "I'm certain," Maya admitted. That night, Maya didn't sleep. She prepared examination protocols and researched treatment options. The old texts described harsh chemical treatments that killed the parasites but also damaged dragon scales permanently. There had to be a better way. Around midnight, she heard a sound at her door. She opened it to find Karvosh standing there, his massive form filling the hallway. "I couldn't sleep," the old dragon said quietly. "Tell me the truth, young human. Is it bad?" Maya looked up at him. In the dim light, she could see the concern in his ancient eyes. This warrior had faced armies and survived battles that killed thousands. But right now, he looked worried. "It's serious," Maya said honestly. "But I'm going to fix it. I promise you, Karvosh, I'm going to fix this." Karvosh lowered his head until his eyes were level with hers. "Why do you care so much?" "We're not your people. Most of my kind think having you here is insulting." Maya smiled sadly. "Because caring for others is what humans do best. It's our strength. And right now, you need someone who cares enough to look closer, to see what others missed." "Then I'm glad you're here," Karvosh said softly. After he left, Maya returned to her research. She had 73 infected veterans to save, and the clock was ticking. Somewhere in these old records and her human medical knowledge, there had to be an answer. She just had to find it before the parasites spread even further. By morning, Maya had a plan. It wasn't perfect, and it wasn't approved by any medical authority, but it might work. She gathered her equipment and prepared to do something that could either save the veterans or end her career before it really began. She was going to start treating them, with or without official permission. Maya stood in her laboratory, staring at the treatment formula she'd spent all night developing. It combined human anti-parasitic medicine with draconian thermal regulation techniques. The theory was sound, but she had no official approval to use it. Her tablet buzzed, a message from the Galactic Medical Coalition headquarters. "Request to begin experimental treatment protocol, pending review. Estimated response time, 14-21 days. 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, the infection could spread to every veteran in the sanctuary." Maya made her decision. She found Karvosh in the Eastern Meditation Garden, lying on a sun-warmed stone platform. The old dragon opened one golden eye as she approached. "Couldn't stay away?" he rumbled, a hint of amusement in his voice. "I have a treatment," Maya said directly. "It's not officially approved yet, but I think it will work." Karvosh lifted his head, fully alert now. "You want to experiment on me?" "I want to cure you," Maya corrected. "The parasites are breaking down your scales from the inside. Eventually, they'll reach your bloodstream. When that happens—" She didn't finish. She didn't need to. "How bad is it?" Karvosh asked quietly. "You're in the early stages. The treatment should work well for you. But there are others." Maya checked her tablet. "At least 73 others who are also infected. Some might be worse off than you." Karvosh was silent for a long moment. Then he stood, his massive body casting a shadow over Maya. "Do it," he said. "If it works on me, you can help the others. If it doesn't—" He shrugged his wings. "I've lived 800 years. That's enough for any dragon." "It's going to work," Maya said firmly. The treatment took 2 hours. Maya applied a specially formulated cream to the infected area, then used controlled heat therapy to activate the medicine. The heat had to be precise, hot enough to kill the parasites, but not so hot it damaged the healthy scales. Karvash endured it without complaint, though Maya could see his jaw tighten when the heat increased. "How do you feel?" she asked when it was done. "Strange," Karvash admitted. "Tingly. Is that normal?" "That's the medicine working. Come back tomorrow and we'll see if there's improvement." That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She kept checking her notes, wondering if she'd made a terrible mistake. What if the treatment didn't work? What if it made things worse? The next morning, Karvash arrived at her laboratory before sunrise. Maya's heart leapt when she saw him. The dark spot on his scales was noticeably lighter. The edges were less defined. Under her scanner, the parasite activity had decreased by 40%. "It's working," Maya breathed. Karvash twisted his neck to look at his shoulder. "I can feel the difference. The area feels warmer, healthier." He looked at Maya with new respect in his ancient eyes. "You actually did it." "One treatment isn't enough," Maya cautioned. "You'll need at least 5 more sessions. But yes, it's working." Over the next 3 days, Maya continued treating Karvash in secret. She worked during the night shift when fewer dragons were around. Each day, the infected area improved. By the 4th day, the dark spot had almost completely faded. Other veterans began to notice. Karvash moved differently, faster, with more energy. His scales seemed brighter. The chronic pain he'd lived with for years was disappearing. "Karvash, you look younger," one veteran exclaimed during lunch in the communal hall. "What's your secret?" another asked. Karvash glanced at Maya, who was checking equipment nearby. "The human nurse," he said simply. "She fixed something I didn't even know was broken." After that, veterans started appearing at Maya's laboratory. They came quietly, almost embarrassed, asking if she could look at their small spots too. Maya examined them one by one. A veteran named Thorax had 3 infected areas on his back. Celine, one of the few female veterans, had a spot spreading across her wing membrane. Young Dravik, young by dragon standards at only 500 years old, had infections on both his front legs. Maya treated them all, working 16-hour days. She used her own supplies and recorded everything carefully. The treatment worked on every patient. The infection rates dropped. The veteran's energy returned. But she knew she couldn't keep this secret forever. On the 5th day, Velrus found her in the laboratory at 2 in the morning. She was preparing treatment doses for the next day's patients. "Maya," he said quietly, "we need to talk." Maya's hands froze. "I can explain. I know what you've been doing." Velrus entered the lab and closed the door behind him. 17 veterans have come to me saying you're treating them, without authorization, without approval from the medical coalition. "I couldn't wait 3 weeks," Maya said, turning to face him. "The infection is spreading. Every day I waited was another day the parasites could reach someone's bloodstream." "You violated protocol," Velrus said. His voice was stern, but his eyes were conflicted. "I saved lives," Maya countered. "Karvash is almost completely healed. So is Thorax. Celine's wing infection is gone. I've screened 67 veterans so far, and every infected dragon I've treated is improving. You put your career at risk." "I don't care about my career," Maya's voice rose. "I care about them. These veterans spent centuries protecting the galaxy. They deserve someone who'll protect them, even if it means breaking a few rules." Velrus stared at her. Then slowly he sat down. "Show me your treatment protocol," he said quietly. Maya pulled up her notes, explaining everything. The parasite identification, the treatment formula, the success rates. Velrus listened carefully, asking technical questions. "This is solid work," he finally said. "Better than solid, this is breakthrough medicine." He looked at her. "But the medical coalition won't see it that way. They'll see an unauthorized junior nurse conducting experimental treatments." "Then what do I do?" Maya asked. Velrus was quiet for a moment. Then his expression hardened with determination. "I'll give you 1 week. 7 days to treat as many veterans as you can and document everything. If your treatment keeps working, I'll submit a full report to the medical coalition with my personal endorsement. And if it doesn't work? Then I'll take responsibility for allowing it," Velrus said. "But Maya, you need to understand something. If the coalition finds out before we have conclusive proof, they'll shut this down immediately. They might even ban you from practicing medicine." "I understand," Maya said. 1 week, Velrus repeated. "Make it count." Maya worked harder than she'd ever worked in her life. Word spread through the sanctuary. Veterans who'd dismissed their spots as nothing now lined up for examinations. Some had been infected for over a year. The parasites had spread deep into their scales, but Maya's treatment still worked. It just took longer. Karvash became her unofficial assistant. The old warrior helped calm nervous patients and explained the treatment process in terms other dragons understood. Seeing their war hero trust this young human convinced many skeptical veterans to accept help. By the end of the week, Maya had treated 43 dragons. Every single one was improving. The dark spots were fading, energy levels were rising, pain was disappearing. She had documented everything: before and after scans, treatment protocols, success rates, patient testimonials. The evidence was overwhelming. On the 7th night, Velrus came to her laboratory. Maya looked up from her work, exhausted but hopeful. "It's time," Velrus said. "I'm sending the report to the medical coalition tonight. Whatever happens next, you should know something." He met her eyes. "You've done more for these veterans in 1 week than our medical staff did in years. You saw what we missed because you cared enough to look." Maya felt tears sting her eyes. "Thank you for trusting me." "Thank you for trusting yourself," Velrus replied. As he left to send the report, Maya looked around her laboratory. In 1 week, everything had changed. The veterans no longer saw her as an unwanted outsider. They saw her as a healer, as a friend. But the hardest part was still ahead. The medical coalition would arrive soon, and Maya had no idea if they would praise her breakthrough or punish her for breaking the rules. All she could do was wait and hope that saving lives mattered more than following procedures. 3 days after Velrus sent the report, disaster struck. Maya was in her laboratory, preparing morning treatments, when alarms blared through the sanctuary. She ran into the hallway to find Velrus racing toward the medical wing, his scales pale with fear. "What's happening?" Maya called. "The Elder Chamber," Velrus said without stopping. 3 of our oldest veterans collapsed during morning meditation. We need you now." Maya grabbed her emergency kit and ran. The Elder Chamber was a sacred space where the sanctuary's most ancient dragons, those over 900 years old, spent their days in quiet reflection. She'd never been allowed inside before. Now the doors stood open and chaos filled the chamber. 3 enormous dragons lay on the heated stone floor, their breathing shallow and rapid. Maya recognized them from their medical files: Mordax, Phyrena, and Ancient Gravik, who at 950 years old was the eldest veteran in the entire sanctuary. "What are their symptoms?" Maya asked, dropping to her knees beside Mordax. "Fever, difficulty breathing, extreme weakness," another dragon medic reported, his voice shaking. "It came on suddenly. We don't understand what's wrong." But Maya understood immediately. She pulled out her scanner and ran it over Mordax's scales. What she saw made her blood run cold. The dark spots weren't just on the surface anymore. The parasites had reached the bloodstream. In dragons this old, with immune systems already weakened by age, the infection was spreading fast, poisoning them from within. "It's the parasites," Maya said urgently. "They've gone systemic. How long have these three had the dark spots?" "Months," the dragon medic admitted. "But they refused treatment. They said they were too old, that spots were normal for dragons their age." Maya's mind raced. The topical treatment she'd been using wouldn't work now. The parasites were too deep, too widespread. Standard draconian medicine used powerful chemical purges for blood infections, but these dragons were too weak. The treatment would kill them faster than the parasites would. "We need to use the thermal purge protocol," the dragon medic said. "It's our only option." "No!" Maya grabbed his arm. "Their bodies can't handle it. Look at their vital signs. They're already in shock. A thermal purge will stop their hearts." "Then what do we do?" Velrus's voice cracked with emotion. "Just watch them die?" Maya stared at the three dying dragons. Everything she'd learned, every technique she'd studied, every moment of training, it all came down to this. She needed to find a way to reach the parasites deep in their blood without using treatment so harsh they'd kill the patients. "I need time," Maya said, "and I need help." "Anything," Velrus said immediately. "Get me Karvash and every veteran I've successfully treated. I need dragon biology expertise combined with my treatment approach. And someone bring me the Sanctuary's complete pharmaceutical inventory. All of it." The next hour was the most intense of Maya's life. She worked at a table hastily set up in the Elder Chamber, surrounded by her equipment and supplies. Karvash stood beside her, answering rapid-fire questions about dragon physiology. Other recovered veterans brought medicines, tools, anything she requested. "Human treatments are gentle," Maya explained as she worked. "We use lower doses over longer periods because our bodies are fragile. Dragon treatments are powerful and fast because your bodies are strong. But these three need something in between. Strong enough to fight the parasites, but gentle enough not to destroy their weakened systems." "Can you create such a treatment?" Karvash asked. "I have to," Maya said simply. She combined human anti-parasitic medicines with draconian blood cleansers, adjusting doses based on the Elder's body weights and vital signs. She added thermal regulation compounds that would let the medicine work at lower temperatures. It was experimental, untested, and completely against every medical protocol she'd ever learned. But it was their only chance. "I need to administer this intravenously," Maya said, looking at the massive dragons, "directly into their bloodstream. It will take 48 hours of continuous treatment. Someone needs to monitor them constantly." "I'll do it," Karvash said immediately. "So will I," said Thorax. "And I," added Selene. Soon, a dozen recovered veterans volunteered. These ancient warriors who'd spent their lives fighting battles now prepared to spend 2 days as medical assistants, helping the young human nurse save their eldest brothers and sisters. Maya set up the intravenous lines, a technical challenge with dragon scales and veins. She started the medicine flowing slowly, monitoring every vital sign with her scanner. The three elders lay still, their massive chests barely rising and falling. Hours passed. Maya didn't leave the chamber. She adjusted medicine doses, checked temperatures, watched for any sign of improvement or deterioration. The veteran volunteers took turns helping, learning quickly how to read her equipment and assist with treatments. Karvash never left her side. When Maya's hands shook from exhaustion, he steadied her. When she doubted herself, he reminded her of all the dragons she'd already saved. "You can do this," he rumbled softly. "I believe in you." 24 hours into the treatment, Mordax's fever broke. His breathing became stronger. By hour 36, Firenna opened her eyes and spoke her first words, thanking Maya in a voice rough with emotion. But Gravik, the eldest, remained critical. His vital signs were unstable. The infection had spread too far, too fast. Maya increased his medicine dose, but it was like trying to stop a flood with a bucket. "Come on," Maya whispered, holding her scanner over Gravik's massive chest. "Fight. Please fight!" It was hour 47, 1 hour before the treatment protocol would end, when footsteps echoed in the chamber. Maya looked up to see a group of official-looking aliens entering, their formal uniforms marking them as representatives from the Galactic Medical Coalition. The inspectors had arrived. The lead inspector, a tall Xinthian with blue skin and multiple eyes, stopped when she saw the scene. 3 ancient dragons hooked to medical equipment, a human nurse surrounded by dragon veterans who were assisting her, and treatment protocols displayed on monitors that showed completely unauthorized experimental medicine being administered. "What," the inspector said slowly, "is going on here?" Before Maya could answer, Gravik stirred. His eyes, clouded with age and illness, opened. He took a deep, strong breath. On Maya's scanner, his vital signs suddenly stabilized. The parasites in his bloodstream began dying off rapidly. The medicine was working. All 3 elders were going to survive. "What's going on?" Karvosh said, stepping forward to stand beside Maya. "Is that this human just saved the lives of 3 of the greatest warriors in galactic history? That's what's going on." The inspector looked from the dying-turned recovering dragons to Maya's exhausted face, to the dozen veteran volunteers who stood protectively around their young human healer. Her multiple eyes blinked in surprise. "I think," she said slowly, "we need to have a very long conversation." Maya nodded, too tired to be afraid. Whatever came next, she'd done what she came here to do. She'd saved lives, and sometimes that had to be enough. The Galactic Medical Coalition's investigation room was cold and formal. Maya sat across from 5 inspectors, her hands folded on the table. She'd barely slept in 3 days, but her mind was sharp. Behind the inspectors, a large screen displayed her treatment records, patient outcomes, and violation reports. "Nurse Chen," the lead inspector began, "you conducted unauthorized experimental treatments on 46 patients. You violated 17 different medical protocols. You used medicine combinations that had never been tested. Do you understand the severity of these actions?" "I do," Maya said quietly. "But I also understand that 46 dragons are alive and healthy because of those actions. 3 elders who were dying are now recovering." "That's not how medicine works," another inspector said sharply. "We have protocols for a reason: safety, testing, approval processes." "Your approval process takes 3 weeks, Maya replied, her voice steady. "The parasites were spreading daily. If I'd waited for approval, how many would have died?" The inspectors exchanged glances. Before they could respond, the door opened. Karvosh entered, his massive form filling the doorway. Behind him came Thorax, Selene, and a line of other veterans, all the dragons Maya had treated. "What is the meaning of this?" the lead inspector demanded. "We request permission to testify," Karvosh said formally, "about the human nurses' actions and their impact on our lives." The inspectors looked uncertain, but the lead one nodded. "Proceed." Karvosh stepped forward. "I am Karvosh, defender of the Outer Rim, veteran of the Void Wars. I have 800 years of combat experience. I've survived injuries that would kill most beings 10 times over." He paused. "But I was dying, and I didn't even know it. A tiny parasite was slowly poisoning me, and our own medical system never detected it." He gestured toward Maya. "This young human fresh from her training saw what we missed, not because she's smarter than dragon physicians, but because she looked with fresh eyes and a caring heart. She saved my life." Thorax stepped forward next. "I had 3 infection sites. Dragon doctors told me they were old battle scars. I believed them. I would have continued believing them until the parasites reached my bloodstream." Nurse Chen didn't just cure me, she prevented my death. One by one, the veterans shared their stories. Celine described how the wing infection had been causing her chronic pain for months. Dravik explained how he'd been too proud to admit weakness, dismissing his symptoms until Maya insisted on examining him. Each testimony was the same. Maya had seen what others missed, cared when others were dismissive, and acted when others would have waited. The inspectors listened in silence. When the last veteran finished, the lead inspector turned to her colleagues. They spoke in low voices for several minutes. Finally, she addressed the room. "We need time to review this case thoroughly. Nurse Chen, you'll remain here at the sanctuary until we reach a decision. The investigation continues." As the veterans filed out, Karvash paused beside Maya. "Whatever they decide, you did the right thing," he rumbled softly. The next day, the inspectors called Maya back, but this time, Velrus was there too, along with several high-ranking medical officials she didn't recognize. "Nurse Chen," the lead inspector began, "our investigation revealed something unexpected. We sent samples of the parasite to our central laboratory for analysis. What you discovered wasn't just a localized outbreak." She activated the large screen. A galactic map appeared, with red dots scattered across multiple systems. "These are dragon populations across the galaxy," the inspector continued. "We've been analyzing medical records from the past decade. The pattern you identified, small spots dismissed as normal aging, appears everywhere. Thousands of dragons, possibly tens of thousands, have been slowly infected with these parasites." Maya's eyes widened. "I didn't realize it was that widespread." No one did. The parasites were so good at hiding, and dragon cultural pride prevented many from reporting minor symptoms. The inspector's expression softened slightly. "Your treatment protocol, while unauthorized, has proven 100% effective. You've identified a silent epidemic that's been affecting dragons for generations." Another official stood. "We've analyzed your technique. The combination of human gentle care medicine with draconian thermal therapy is brilliant. It works because it treats the patient as an individual, not just as a species. That's revolutionary." The lead inspector looked directly at Maya. "Nurse Chen, your actions violated numerous protocols. However, your results are undeniable. The Medical Coalition has decided to take the following actions." Maya held her breath. "First, your treatment protocol will become the new galactic standard for parasitic infections in aging dragon populations. Second, we're establishing a cross-species medical training program. Dragon physicians will learn human diagnostic techniques. Human nurses will learn dragon physiology. The program will be based here at the sanctuary." The inspector paused. "Third, we're offering you a position as the sanctuary's chief medical officer and director of the new training program. The position comes with full authority to implement medical protocols you deem necessary." Maya couldn't speak. She'd expected punishment, possibly losing her medical license. Instead, they were promoting her and adopting her methods. "There's one condition," the inspector added. "You must work with a review board to develop proper protocols for future experimental treatments. We can't have every nurse conducting unauthorized experiments, even with good intentions." "I understand," Maya managed to say, "and I accept. All of it." Word spread quickly through the sanctuary. That evening, the veterans gathered in the Great Hall for a ceremony. Gravik, fully recovered now, presided over the gathering. "For centuries," the ancient dragon said, his voice strong, "we dragons have prided ourselves on our strength, our independence, our ability to endure anything. But pride can be a weakness. It prevented us from seeking help. It made us dismiss our own suffering as unimportant." He looked at Maya, who stood beside Velrus at the front of the hall. "This human showed us that true strength includes vulnerability, that asking for help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. She saw our pain when we pretended it didn't exist. She cared for us when we'd forgotten how to care for ourselves." Gravik approached Maya and lowered his massive head in a gesture of profound respect. On behalf of every dragon in this sanctuary, and every dragon in the galaxy who will benefit from your work, thank you. The hall erupted in a sound Maya had never heard before. Hundreds of dragons humming in harmony, a traditional song of honor reserved for the greatest heroes. Tears streamed down Maya's face. Karvash stood beside her, and she saw that the old warrior's golden eyes were wet too. "You did it," he said softly. "You changed everything." Maya looked around the hall at the faces of veterans she'd come to know and love. Thorax, whose sense of humor always made her laugh. Celine, who'd started teaching her dragon history. Dravik, who was learning human medicine so he could assist in the new training program. And Karvash, the proud warrior who'd become her closest friend. "I didn't do it alone," Maya replied. "We did it together. That's the lesson, isn't it? Different species, different perspectives, working together. That's when we're strongest." 6 months later, the Dragon Veterans Sanctuary had transformed. The new medical training center welcomed students from across the galaxy, young dragons learning human diagnostic techniques, human nurses studying dragon physiology, and physicians from dozens other species learning to see patients with fresh, caring eyes. Maya stood in her office, looking out at the volcanic landscape she'd once found so alien. Now, it felt like home. Her tablet buzzed with a message from the Galactic Medical Coalition. Another sanctuary on a distant world had reported their first successful treatment using her protocol. Another group of veterans saved. A shadow fell across her desk. She looked up to see Karvash in the doorway. "Busy, Chief Medical Officer?" he asked with a hint of amusement. "Always," Maya smiled. "What's up?" "Just came to remind you of something," Karvash said. "You once told me that caring for others is what humans do best. You were right. But you also taught us something else, that accepting care is a strength too." He placed something on her desk. It was a small medallion, carved from volcanic stone, with the symbol of the Dragon Veterans engraved on it. "This is given to those who've earned our eternal gratitude," Karvash explained. "Welcome to the family, Maya Chen, officially." Maya picked up the medallion, feeling its warmth. Around her, the sanctuary buzzed with life, students learning, patients healing, and cultures connecting. One small spot on one old dragon's scales had led to all of this. Sometimes the biggest changes started with the smallest observations. Sometimes saving the galaxy began with simply caring enough to look closer, and sometimes being human, with all its compassion, curiosity, and determination to help, was exactly the strength the universe needed.